Hello. Well, here's our oil bath air cleaner with the JB Weld on it. Looks like it held all right, so we're going to clean that up and we're going to put oil in it and get that on, which is from the other day, and then we're going to grease her up, do a few other things. I know Jared mentioned in his other video that we got this a little while back, and this tractor I ran when I was a teenager with a mid-mount mower that stuck out to the side, which I love for trimming pastures. It was beautiful. So this little tractor's been around a while, and I ran it when I was a kid. So it was at the neighbors when they bought the place, and he never used it, so we made a deal, and now she's back on our place, and we had to put a clutch in it because the clutch was froze up. And we had to do a few other things. It's got electronic ignition in it, change over to 12 volts, which I just ordered an alternator for it, so she'll charge. And now we'll put the air bath cleaner back on, and when we're going to grease it up, and we're going to park it, because Jacob, my youngest son's got to bring his truck in here tomorrow to put brakes on it. Eventually, we'll probably bring her in, maybe give her a little loving, maybe put a new dress on her, paint her up, you know what I mean. Of course, these old air bath air cleaners, they do all right, but the cartridge ones are better today. But if you service them enough, they do the job. So now we're going to take and grab the grease gun. Because one thing I can't stand, it's a greasy grease gun. I'm sure there's some guys out there who know exactly what I mean. When I'm done greasing, I wipe it all down. I hit grabbing a grease gun, and it's all grease all over it. If anybody isn't familiar with old equipment, when you grease it, basically, my rule of thumb is if it turns or pivots, look for a grease fit. I mean, I had an old 615 International Harvester combine when we did grain corn, because we didn't do that many acres. So it was a 2-row head, and the thing run great. But there must have been a million grease fittings on it, because back then they didn't have steel bearings. So when you first go to grease it, you're just looking for any point that either spun or pivoted, and sure enough, there'd be a grease fitting on it. And the same thing with these old tractors. You got the axle grease fittings. Yeah, sometimes when you're greasing them up, they either get the wrong angle and a 2-point hitch. Anything that pivots, turns, your clutch pedal, where it pivots. This one here doesn't have a grease fitting on the water pump, but like the H's and the M's and the 300s do. Same with the brake pedals, the grease fittings on that. And just look over your whole piece of equipment and just look for anything that pivots or turns and look for a grease fitting on it. Because a lot of times they're neglected. And that's when things start to wear out. So now, I'm going to put this in the barn. We're going to put that in the barn. We're going to bring the 300 in, because the hydraulic is getting a little weak on it. The piston leaks. This is off a parts tractor that we have. I'm going to throw that on there and see if that doesn't leak. If not, I'll have to buy a seal kit for the other one. We rebuild it and then trade them out. And the hydraulics, when they get warm, also are a little weak, but there's a screen on the side. Here's the one out of the parts tractor, which is no good because the mesh is missing on it, but we'll check that to make sure that's clean. And then I'll clean up this pump that came off the parts tractor, check it all out, and I might throw that on to see if it improves, because it works fine when it's cold, but once it warms up, then it's a little lazy picking up the bush hog or picking the planter up when we're planting. So we'll try to address that and see if we can get that to work a little better. But right now, I'm going to move a bunch of equipment around, so I'm going to shut this off for a little while, because otherwise you just be lots of dead air. Well, we might have found the issue with the 300. That oil ain't looking too good, and the screen that goes inside the mesh is a little worn. So I think we're going to start off. We're just going to clean it all out and change.